Welcome back to Friday Night Footy on Fox. We're going to go straight to the AFL Insider War Room. And Kingy, an amazing first half of football. There was, 15 goals in the first quarter and then 4 goals in the second quarter. Just an amazing game.
Well, it was a shootout early, wasn't it, lads? We saw the game in free flow for the first part, I reckon, of 40 minutes. And
ball pinged around a bit.
It did.
Yeah.
And under those circumstances, Drew, you would have thought Geelong would have held sway.
Yeah, they're known for their run and their rebound off halfback. And as you mentioned, the stoppages, Sydney have been renowned for their stoppages over the years, but apart from the centre bounces, there weren't that many around the ground either.
Dern, let's have a look at the numbers in terms of that counter-attack off halfback, and both sides were really effective at it. You can see here the first quarter, Sydney won the ball back 14 times at their halfback flank area, and Geelong the 9. But look at the purity. 14 of those turned, 7 inside 50, so very, very pure for almost 100% return in 4 goals too. And Geelong, when they go in that sense, they score, don't they? They're very aggressive. It was Harry Taylor lighting them up down forward, but they're very aggressive playing that mode.
Well, Harry Taylor's been very good when he actually played forward, and Big Hawk hasn't really had any effect on the game whatsoever, which actually goes all right for Geelong. If they can keep getting equal amount of ball inside 50, he could come good and it could be the difference.
Drew, this is what you spoke about in the pre-game. Geelong counter-attacking with purity through the middle of the ground.
Yeah, very good. Doing the match simulation against Geelong in the pre-season, we sussed out the fact that they like to bring the ball through the corridor. Stevie J, as you see here, it's a really dangerous kick, but if it comes off, it can provide certain dividends for the team in goal scoring. And I think when Harry Taylor was up 40, he really created a deeper target for his teammates inside forward 50. And then when he had to go back up the other end, he certainly did solidify Geelong's defence as well. 2 goals, 1 early to Harry. And he's the discussion point, isn't he? I think when he was forward in that first quarter, they looked vulnerable down back. As we said, he impacted the scoreboard. Yep. It's a real dilemma now. They loaded up in that second term, the Sydney Swans. They put LRT, Pike, Reid and Goods down there, and they had to move Harry back. They had to use him down back, and you can just see him here in the background as Sydney go inside that forward 50, because to that stage the Swans had taken 6 marks inside 50 for the first 40 minutes. Now he's locked up there by Mummy, so he's not really involved in the play.
Which is normally so good at being third man up and actually picking off that mark, just not the spoil.
So they took 6 marks in their Derm for a return of 5 goals, 1 the first 40 minutes. Harry then was flicked down back and arrested that situation, as we said. LRT's now injured. I wonder what the use of Harry will be in the second half. Do you go after the Swans now, knowing they're a soldier down, or what are you thinking?
You got to, but what it does do, if Sydney load up and go Goods forward, they have to go with Joel Corey on him again, which is fraught with danger, but you might have to roll the dice. You might have to do it to win it.
You saw some things you want to isolate in the stoppages?
I wander around here. 25-odd seconds to go in the second quarter. We've got Kennedy and Mitch Duncan here. Now, they are right around here. Kennedy's the bloke who says, I'm the bloke who's going to win this. I can win a goal for my team. We roll the play on. Look how close Mitch Duncan is. Watch the separation now. He gets away from Mitch Duncan, gets the first meaningful handball out here. And if this doesn't work for him, it's a boundary line throw-in. It's a forerunner to what's going to happen next, because we've got Kennedy here, George Hall and Smith. Now, he's got touch on him. The old Cameron Ling, I'm ready with the bear trap. But he's actually on the attacking side, not defensive side. He just turns into Curious George now. He's not really there. First meaningful possession goes to Jude Bolton from Kennedy. I mean, he signalled on the first one, I'm the man who's going to win this. Second one, he gets it, puts him into space, puts a goal. George Hall and Smith didn't shut the bear trap on him. And to add insult to injury, the next centre bounce down, Kennedy takes it away.
Have a look at this, Derm. This is, I reckon, the classic story of the game. On the inside here, that inner ring of the stoppage versus the outer ring, the wider ring there. I reckon Geelong have stayed that separation 5 metres off the drop zone of the actual ball up. And the first quarter it hurt them. The first possessions were 19-12 in favour of the Swans, and they scored 3 goals from stoppages. Second term, I reckon they said, hey, we need to go after this. We can't allow the Swans first use. Let's get Selwood and Christensen and Hall and Smith and these guys back in there. Turned it around 11-4. Game's in the balance, Ed. We're really wondering here what they're going to do with Harry Taylor. That's what we'll be looking for at the start of the third quarter.
Good on you, Kingy. He's been good in the back half and kicked 2 goals, as we said, in that first quarter. And a special cheerio tonight to Barry Breen, who's called in, the former St Kilda champion. Loving the War Room tonight, boys. So it's fantastic to see Barry Breen watching all the way from Sydney tonight. All right, let's go to John Ralph now from the Herald Sun for all the latest on the news. Ralphie, anything more from Melbourne?
Well, Eddie, we can reveal to you that only moments ago the Melbourne Football Club confirmed that report from the top of the show that Dan Bates, the Melbourne doctor, has been stood down. Now, they say that he made the decision to stand down and they felt that it was appropriate for him to do so. Now, Don McClarty said in a statement that there were sufficient concerns about the breakdown of reporting protocols. They said that he was asked 3 times in a February review in regard to the supplements and in regard to his affiliation with Dank. What was not said was whether he passed that on, but there is clearly an inference there that perhaps he didn't pass on as much information as he could.
Good on you, Ralphie. We'll find out whether he's the only casualty. The AFL looking for blood. There's no doubt about that. All right, we'll take a break. We're going to come back with the second half. It's going to be an absolute ripper, this one. Look at the score. 63 plays 58. It's 63 plays 59, is it?
58.
58. Yep. All right, so 5 points of difference. It was 5 points at quarter time, which means after all that, Mark McClure didn't get it right. It was a draw. The Cats are ready to go in the second half of this game. What a beauty it's been. They've kicked the last 2 goals after having conceded the previous 4 from late in the first term through to midway through the second, and it looked like the Swans were starting to pull away. Looked the goods. And as I said, 2 quick goals to the Catters, and we're back to a 5-point game. And that was the margin at quarter time, the margin at half time, Doom.
I think there's still more upside in Geelong. If you get Podsy Adley, he's taken a couple of grabs, but maybe if you could get Tommy Hawkins to get his hands on the footy, there's a lot of upside in the forward line if he can do that. I know Grundy's a good body player. In both teams. And also...
come back to it
down there.
Bartow and Chapman haven't had much influence on the game yet for them, but I think Sydney will run over them in the second half. They've got to be fresher than the Cats.
Sellers?
I think Geelong will win the third quarter.
We'll come back at the end and see if they've won the lot. Here we go. Back to the action. Swans and Cats.
Mumford and West. West wins it down, stolen by Jack, who drives his side inside the forward 50. Some hanging on down there. At least Rivers was claiming it. Storming up the ground and getting a hand pass away there was Mitch Morton. McVeigh gave it across towards Reid, and now the ball goes across the boundary line. We'll have a throw in. Mitch Morton was the sub, replaced that man, and of course a star in the grand final last year. A surprise selection, booted 2 goals.
Kicked 11 goals in the NEAFL competition last week, so he's in a rich vein of form.
So Johnson's quick kick, Christensen, Chapman down low. Henry tried to cut it off, and then Duncan handballs to space, and Geelong have got the run of it here. Hall Smith, he's got a bit of time to work it all out. It's not a good kick. He missed Hawkins. That's a terrible mistake. Richards overruns it. Matner gets back. And then Matner's floater. Selwood bouncing. Was it out on the full? No, boundary thrown. Just the Hawkins, no luck there, but no goals. As we look at LRT, no goals for Hawkins so far tonight. So Sydney have been able to keep a hold of him. Gee, they had a chance there, Geelong.
Yeah, it was a poor kick going in. They had the Swans' defence completely outbalanced.
Gee, Chapman doing the ruck work there with Mumford and doing a pretty good job with the shallow throw in. Duncan to Mackie, and then Mackie like a bullet kicking the ball. In fact, put a lot on it. And
Tommy.
Too much, that ball floating over the line.
No change then to the half-time score. But just for the moment, we're missing the footy. Still a building site over there in some areas. Capacity of the ground tonight, Bruce was saying, 36,000. And still a way to go. Richards sends a high ball close to the boundary. Reid came at it with conviction down in front. Kennedy slips a hand pass to Jack. Back to Kennedy. That was like greased lightning. Brilliant stuff. Kennedy towards half forward. Swans needing a contest. They got the ball on the ground. They did better than that. Hanbury got the loose ball. Kicks it down towards full forward. But nobody at home for the Swans. Hall Smith goes back, foxes the footy, and kicks it towards centre half back and Taylor. Taylor at both ends tonight. Podsy Adley, his 7th mark. Bartell pushes up from half back, goes down towards half forward. Sydney surge at the football though. They've got the numbers around it. Richards goes a long way back by hand. Matner into Mines, wants his man out there to clear the bloke he's on. Pike did that, but I think Matner realised there was going to be a problem if Pike didn't mark it. Hunt's hand pass not so good, got them off the hook, and McVeigh takes it out of bounds.
Just lifted their pressure, Geelong, haven't they? Early in the game, we saw the Swans being able to use the space to run it, but all of a sudden, Geelong have been able to crowd the game up, and they look better when the game is a little bit more congested.
So Podsy Adley lays it down towards Selwood. Chapman got down low, did really well. Chapman got it back to Enright. Off a step, Enright, good-looking kick. Touched right on the line. It was going through, obviously, so Richards getting back.
I think also Lee Geelong are able to orchestrate a loose man at the moment, which the Swans didn't allow in the second quarter. Bartel looks to be that player. See, Jack's kick was a dangerous one. Duncan had to wait, but they may open up here. Bolton, Rampy's been pretty impressive. Had a fair bit on it. Goods
kicks the ball well. You can tell just he's only had his handful of kicks, but he's got real power. You know, the ball just gets to its target quicker. Much easier for forwards to work off those powerful kicks.
Unpredictable as a new player. He's a left footer, and opposition players will work that out pretty quickly. He won the Phelan medal in the AFL Sydney competition, which is a couple of rungs below the AFL, so he's really elevated his game in a matter of months.
Kicked a couple Goods. Missed one just before half-time, a bit further out than this. He's got it on line and holding the line and hitting the post at the end. So that breeze may be getting hold of that. We saw that go left to right a bit in the opening term. So a miss by Goods and a 5-point game again. She looked home in the run, didn't it?
Certainly did. So Enright had a pretty good night. Goes straight up the middle. Hawkins hasn't seen a lot of the footy. Almost marked it. Will get a free kick.
Oh, that's 50. Oh, he was lucky to get away with that. Well, Jack just dropped the footy.
He didn't realise it was his kick, did he?
I don't know.
Well, no 50, but as you say, a tad lucky. Kick inside the forward 50. Well done by Selwood. Podsy Adley on his left foot here. Taylor touched on the line again.
All clear.
Look at this. That's definitely a 50. The umpire mustn't have seen what happened.
So in stark contrast to the opening term, goals hard to come by here. Armstrong goes wide. Grundy camped against the boundary, just coughs it up, goes to Joel Corey. Corey 60 metres out, kicks it directly to Richards.
Play on.
So not quite as slick for either team. We're seeing a lot of turnovers here that we didn't see in the opening quarter.
No, we've seen more skill errors and giving the ball back in the last 60 seconds than we had for the whole of the first quarter, that's for sure.
Well, the first quarter in particular was so frenetic. There was no mark. There was no sort of go back behind the play. And it's got to be said that both sides look a bit tired coming straight out.
That's got to build the fatigue, doesn't it? Because there was just no rest. Very few stoppages in that first quarter and a half.
Could you ever see him playing as a permanent forward, Taylor?
You'd want to make sure you had a reasonable replacement across half-back.
Well, he's so impressive when he goes for it. I mean, that was just a cut-off mark, I know, but he gets himself into so many scoring positions and he kicks the ball generally pretty well, that one hooking. So he's had a couple of goals tonight. I was saying to Lee at half-time off-air that if you're 5 points down in the last quarter, you'd put Harry at full forward and bang the ball high with a minute to go, because you know he'll make a contest.
He reads the ball as well as anyone in the competition when it's in flight. He's got a great, safe pair of hands in a contested mark.
Malcheski to the outer side. Lonigan will get a free against Reid. Hands in the back. Lonigan plays on immediately. Stokes kicks inside the forward 50. They meet at the footy. Some hurt players there. Now, who is that to the left of the pack? Hanbury might be Hanbury again, is it?
Just hold on one sec.
Oh, wow. That same thing you were talking about, Lee, just committing himself to the pack, although that was more a case of the pack committing to him.
He got caught in front and they just jumped on him.
So O'Keefe has the footy. Hanbury feeling the worse for wear on his haunches again. As O'Keefe kicks it up towards the wing. Clever by Taylor. His best in a game was against GWS last season, round 10, when he booted 6. Here's Stokes. Stokes drives it back inside the forward 50. Over the top, Richards simply collapsed on the pack. Lurking behind O'Keefe did well, and just as well. Now Armstrong shows a lot of it to Selwood. Selwood strips it away from McVeigh. Beautiful finish. Goes back to the top of the square and finds Smets.
Well, you see Dan Hanbury on screen. He's about to come off. He's extremely lame. If fit, would have been able to cover for Billy Smets there. So it's going to be. This is a really key part to the game now. Great work by Joel Selwood covering the loose uncontested mark.
Already got the sub on the Swans, so one more and they're a player down. One more injured.
It's been a while since the Cats have led in this one, and Smets puts them back in front. Powerful stuff by Selwood, just winning the ball against quality opposition right on the 50 out wide. McVeigh was favoured by the kick, but only marginally, and Selwood committed, got it on the ground, and then the finish back towards the middle. And Smets had it delivered on a platter. So he kicked the goal that puts the Cats 3 points up now.
Selwood's had 8. There's the injury to Henry. Selwood's had 8 disposals, 3 clearances, all contested disposals since the Swans' last goal. He's made such a difference. I mean, hurting Henry there, where he going for a mark.
I tackle Geelong.
Looked with the when Podsiadly came down, actually landed and stomped, obviously inadvertently, on Henry's shin ankle area. That's what might be causing him grief at the moment.
So Johnson, they're on a real roll now. The Cats.
Stay.
Out wide to Duncan. So the shootout in the first quarter now. We've had bursts of goals from both clubs. And then Hawkins, who has had no impact so far. He had a lot of that, Hawkins. He'll be disappointed he didn't mark that one. That was his first real easy one forward of the 50. Smith's little toe poke. Taylor Hunt gets it from Chapman. Back to Mackie. Check side. Clever enough to the pocket. Blitzhoff creates a contest and a boundary throw in.
They've lost the run, the Swans. They were so powerful early, that sustained speed away from congestion, but it's just disappeared this last 30 minutes of play.
2 against 1 there. The Cats well represented. Chapman got the crumb, held a long time, and the tackle was Motlop. Smith tries to feed it across to Armstrong. He goes with the outside of the boot, outside the defensive 50. Crubbed nicely by Bolton. Split the indifference there and drives it towards the outer side. A long run back. Geelong will arrive first. Hunt got there ahead of his teammate Lonigan. The pressure comes from the Swans now. McGlynn was in there. Look at McGlynn. Kamikaze stuff. I think he's won a free kick. Now it's going the other way.
It's the sliding free kick, I think, being played against him for sliding into the lower legs of Stokes.
He's having a lot to say to the officials tonight. On one occasion, perhaps he was talking to a teammate. Well, he didn't seem to make contact with the legs there.
I think he might have been a bit trigger happy on that one. That is the rule is really definitive that if you make contact below the knee when a player slides in, it's a free kick. But I'm not convinced there was any contact there to warrant the free kick.
Hasn't been sufficient contact.
And the free kick for verbal stoush, I think.
So Taylor gets a result handball. That's a poor kick by Taylor. Yeah, McLean's undone. I mean, he's stiff there, but he's got to be careful with the mouthing off.
Yep.
Because he's had such a good game. Taylor a bit wasteful in this term. A couple of shots like that. Sydney having problems getting in their forward 50 at the moment. Mackie has to wait. And Matner puts the tackle on boundary throw-in.
Yeah, they're locking in now, aren't they, Geelong? When they've got the ball in their forward half in the first quarter, the Swans was surging it out of here, but right now the Swans are just, Geelong are just holding it in.
A bit battered, the Swans at the moment. LRT gone for the night. Hanbury in the hands of the trainers, as we see. Corey backhanded it towards Mackie. Jack searching, gets down so low and so cleverly. Bolton, that's a terrific tackle. O'Keefe to Jetta. They could do with some running and breaking of the line by Jetta right now. Here's Morton, Enright, just taps it back. Kennedy, back to Morton. It was a tough handball for Morton. He had to reflex it, but he gets a free kick against Boris there in the back. Probably had to reflex the ball back there, Morton, and that's not really his style.
Jetta's away then. This is his style, running at the opposition. He sends a high ball about 20 metres out. They compete. Reid was the man up, got hands to it. Hall and Smith grabs it close to the boundary line. Sends it back outside the defensive 50. A block against Stokes. Morton's free. And the umpire demanding it come back. So the umpire saying Stokes didn't go at the footy. Wide-eyed Mitch Morton. Takes the kick from a long way short of the mark and sends it down towards full forward. In front was Duncan, spilt it. Enright grabs it, goes with the outside of the foot again. Players love that these days. Crumbs come behind the pack, taken by Armstrong. Hooks it high, a metre off the line. Forced across and hit a body as Reid was trying to bring it down. 65 plays 67.
Well, from the Swans' point of view, at least they've been able to get the ball forward in the last minute or two. Bartel short to Enright. Enright equal with Billy Goggin tonight in games played. Equal number 10 on the all-time Geelong list. Stokes to Mackie. Out of play. I grew up, Lee, watching Billy Goggin on the television. Did you play against him?
No, he was a little bit before my time.
Great
Bruce, I remember watching
he?
him in the 60s, but don't think ever played against him.
Just a fantastic rover. So Stokes, Smets, Christensen, Farmer and Goggin, eh? What a combination they were.
That was the cry, wasn't it, Farmer to Goggin?
So Boris gets level with him tonight on 248.
I think he wore Chappie's number. There's Chappie in the action and in trouble. Down he goes. And it's going to be a free kick to Sydney.
Certainly did wear 35, and when Paul Chapman arrived at the club, that was when the club really started to introduce the history of the club, and he was extremely proud to don the number.
Pike's been very good tonight. Sends this ball beyond the wing. Fisted away by Rivers. In front Parker, taken down by Rivers, who ran on all fours. Mackie, clever. That was instinctive by Bartel towards half forward. Off hands, camped in front. McVeigh too slow. Taken down by Stokes. Matner lost it between his legs. Diving in there is Johnson. Gotta be careful. Shouldn't have been shadow box down there. We've got a bounce down towards right half forward.
So it's an arm wrestle, isn't it? It's gone from a shootout to an arm wrestle.
Yeah, maybe that fatigue of the up and back running in the first quarter is just taking its toll as the game goes on.
Pike lays it down. Corey down low. Out to Christensen. Parker and McVeigh. So the pretty stuff, which was very, very pretty for half an hour, is now a distant memory. It's become a real battle between big bodies around that stoppages. Jetta, he will stay pretty, Jetta. And then Duncan on the up. Armstrong trying to retrieve it. Armstrong's handball puts Smith under pressure. He did really well, Smith. Little give, Jack. Back to Grundy, and that's a terrible kick by Grundy. He just couldn't get the angle right.
Wait. Come back here. Back, thank you.
Oh, it's non-stop stuff. Not for the faint-hearted this now. Long ball down towards full forward. Gee, that's a long kick. Back goes Hawkins, and he juggles the mark.
The first time he's been able to use that immense body strength to actually get a better position under the football than Richards.
Coming up for his 5th disposal. First goal, puts it through. That's very handy. It extends the lead. I think the defender's a bit surprised there by the carry on that kick. It was really driven in by Selwood, and suddenly everyone was hightailing it back towards the goal line, and Hawkins, because of that, found himself just with enough space to get an angle on the ball and bring it down with one hand.
Able to protect where the ball was going to drop. Got his left side into Richards and was good enough to take it second grab. He's a strong body under the football.
So for the 4th time tonight, the Cats get to an 8-point lead. That's been their biggest lead in the match so far, and they might be able to add to that. Chapman off the ground inside the 50, now rolling outside, and Podsiadly in a boundary thrown. So maybe an ominous sign there that Hawkins getting involved with a mark and a goal.
Yeah, Geelong is certainly the team that's got it going at the moment. The Swans have to find a way. It's not happening so far.
Mumford over the top of West. It's good to see Hanbury back. Malcheski left-footed, but he can't quite get it away, and Mackie stood his ground and taken the mark.
Starting to set up well. Geelong across half-back. Andrew Mackie was off the back of the stoppage, maintained his position to affect the intercept mark. Just getting a repeat inside forward 50s now, the Cats.
Lonigan. Now, where's Hawkins or Podsiadly? Rampy. And now Johnson is trying to create Stevie. And
they just look to me a bit shaky, this Swans back group at the moment. They're under enormous pressure because in field position they've been under siege this last 30 minutes of play, but they're just starting to look like they're going to make a mistake every now and again. Give the ball back.
Will they buckle? Hanbury won't. Good to see him back out there. Couple of possessions. He's fearless. He drives it up towards the wing. Well played by Jetta. Got a fist in there. Hunt goes back after the football. Geelong with the numbers around the footy, but fighting a pretty good fight there was Reid. Trying to emerge with it was Parker. He tried to shovel it out. Eventually it comes towards McGlynn. He was taken to ground on his knees. Joel Corey did brilliantly. So too Motlop. Hall and Smith ran into a dead end. We've got a whistle. And it's coming back to Mitch Duncan. Didn't see what happened to him.
Might have been a fair case for advantage there, I think.
I reckon.
That's what Chris Scott, I think, was thinking.
Doesn't matter to push right away. Two actions. Play on.
So Malcheski gets it from Richards. That Richards-Hawkins duel becoming more important, you feel, as this match goes on and goals get harder to get. Parker trying to break through. And that ball not going anywhere.
I think that Tom Hawkins contest was exactly what you were talking about before, Lee, where Tom was almost too strong for his own good and threw Teddy Richards out of the way and made it too obvious for the umpire, and he had to pay it.
So 35 minutes since the Swans goal now. That's unbelievable considering what we saw in the opening term. Hall and Smith, Stokes and Armstrong. Kennedy back to Armstrong. Armstrong gets a quick kick away. Gee, Hanbury was so good there. And then on the wrong side for him, pushing forward, Morton and also Bolton and Bartel. And a boundary throw in.
Just looking at the Swans, they certainly need some speed into the game, and Dan Hanbury's quite clearly lame, and he's not going to be able to provide that. Lewis Jett at only the 6 disposals so far, just needs to get into the game.
Hunt's doing a terrific job of denying him space. Unfortunately, he needs the space, but once he gets it, he can use it. But Hunt's got him under control.
West to Hall and Smith. Got a good angle on that one to Stokes. Clever by Selwood to West. Found himself momentarily in space. That sort of game. Used it though. Here's Duncan. Runs through the wing. Goes down towards half-forward. Just laying it into the path of Motlop. Motlop takes on the chaser. Measures the options. And eventually decides Chapman's the one. And gives it to him.
That's great composure there by Stevie Motlop. If you look here, knew he had Dane Rampey covered. Eyes for the goals. Last minute had the poise to go up. It was Malcheski who just gave himself a metre or so on Chapman. Terrific team play.
Chapman's got one tonight. This to extend the lead. Important kick. And he answers the call. He splits the middle. So 2 goals for Chapman. And they're pulling away now. As Lee said, Sydney really threatening to buckle under the pressure. It's constant. It's being played in one half. And we're watching the players when it goes down the other end, turning around and tracking it back. So empty on Sydney's forward line. Hard to see how they're going to manufacture goals.
Stevie Motlop showing his speed here, but also showing the composure. You see right here at the end, he just yells out, Chappie, I want you to come and get the footy. I've brought him into the ball nicely.
So Chapman with a couple. Motlop's been really good, as you say. 3 goals to him. West on hands and knees. Christensen's handball to Stokes. Geelong kicked 3 goals in this term to none.
Quick kick high off the ball.
So I think against Mumford here, is it? So that's a big blow to Sydney because Jack was away and flying, wasn't he?
Move it on.
So Christensen to half forward and Hawkins has got it again. Well, they're completely on top here.
Did that well. He jumped early, Hawkins, so he was able to protect the ball. This is the free kick.
This must have been just outside up there.
It didn't look like it high, so that must have been adjudicated as more than 5 metres for the footy and not in play.
You talk about Hawkins using his strength and being penalised. That's the other side of strength, isn't it? Just huge shoulders, strong arms.
So the kick says this is the biggest lead either team has had tonight. Sydney got to 19, looks good off the boot. He's kicked 2 goals in the 3rd quarter. He gets surrounded. They pinch a big break now. We felt like he had to get into the game at some stage.
I mean, this is the same game of footy. They kicked 8 goals in the 1st quarter, the Swans, and they've had 2 in almost 2 quarters. 2 quarters since. It's just completely dried up from them.
It almost looks like, I mean, it was played at such a high tempo that they are a contested ball style of play, and it appears it's taken a fair bit out of them. Look at the 2 forwards working together and the 2 defenders. This one here eyes on the ball, just got the position at the right time, had the arm on Heath Grundy and launched himself at the footy.
20 points the margin then. Mumford on the way down got it. Bolton immediately tackled by Steve Johnson, and the umpire calls for it. Well, Sydney need to get busy now. This game all but gone. Not so much by the margin, but by the way they're playing. Wide of the pack, it's taken by Christensen, who then proceeded to leave it behind a back heel, sent it out in the direction there of Jack. Eventually Kennedy shuffled it across to Matner, who kicks inside the forward 50, and the mark is taken by Goods. In fact, there might have been Bolton back in that congestion in the centre. They got the kick to Goods.
Great seeing Adam Goods taking contested mark in the forward 50. I wouldn't actually mind, provided he's got the run in the legs, putting him into the middle of the ground. He's done some amazing damage at the SCG. Can't be everywhere, of course, but that's one up the sleeve for the Swans, potentially.
Okay. Important kicks coming quick and fast. This one from the boot of Goods, and he's missed. And therein lies the difference.
They're not getting many shots, so they've got to be able to take him. He missed that early one in this third quarter. Good, so he's had a couple of shots, not been able to nail them.
Missed one in the second as well, Lee. So his last three set shots have been misses. Mackey's kick to West, big fly from West off Matner's head, down low Grundy, good hands to Reid, and then a bit of an up and under, and it's all Geelong, and Taylor with safe hands. He'd be a very good wicket-keeper, Taylor, wouldn't he? In fact, he was a very good wicket-keeper, but he played for England. Lovely mark taken by Blitzarves. Duncan. See Smith tired there, running after Duncan, but he did get him down. Duncan pushes forward. Motlop, very dangerous. And then going to ground and getting a free kick, Grundy.
And as Taylor's gone back to take his customary position across halfback, Tom Lonigan, the other tall key defenders, pushed forward and has a significant height advantage over Dane Rampy. So really swinging the changes here, the Cats.
LRT missed too because of that swing and that height, isn't it?
Absolutely. Not as much about rotations as just balance. Here's Jack in terrible trouble. Tackled high, he'll get the free. So Reid flirted with the idea of playing on, but didn't take a step. Jack, meantime, sends it inside the forward 50, and Pike launches himself. And that was a terrific grab. He was off balance. That was so pure. It was just a pure mark.
Good strong hands, wasn't it? It's a long kick. He read it well, knew where the ball was, got it up with extension, but just had really strong hands.
So Pike directly in front. The margin at 19. Now it's 13. Oh, Canada, that was a terrific goal and one they really needed.
I'll tell you what, Dennis, I'd like him in a tight situation, Pike. His temperament is so good. I mean, the mark was very skillful. The ball didn't bobble at all in the hands, but go back and, Goodsy's missed a couple. There was a lot of pressure. He's just got a really good temperament, this bloke.
Absolutely. A lot to admire about him. A self-made player, there's no question about that. I mean, obviously people have helped along the way, but he had the grand vision.
The most impressive part about this, you just see how he checks his run. He knows where the drop or the flight is going to come in, takes a couple of steps off, then launches and takes the ball at the highest point.
First goal for 41 minutes for the Swans. They kicked 8 in that opening turn. Selwood. Didn't like that and neither did Chappie. They were pretty close. It looked okay, but maybe the Swans here can have a little burst late to fall forward. Reid's big fly, Pike involved, Corey. Bit of a chaos situation. Chapman to Hall and Smith. Hall and Smith's been running with Kennedy and doing a good job. West building the ball out. Matner has to go fishing and he can't find the line. He found a big shark. It was Hawkins, and then Johnson gets it from Selwood, and Stevie J runs it home. Big body of Hawkins important in the middle of the ground there.
Early in the game, it was the Swans were kicking those kind of goals, running it out of the back 50, but now it's all of a sudden Geelong are just running the game out so strong. I guess we know that whether it's physical, mental, will, what have you, they're always coming strongly in the second half, Geelong, but they really got hold of this game in that regard about halfway through the second quarter.
It's a really strong physical presence by Tom Hawkins. Knows he's got Steve Johnson out there, and there's a current trend for players to dribble goals through. Steve Johnson aims for the base of the line in the middle of the goals, and he just hasn't overkicked it, and he's done it a treat again.
Umpire Stevic wants the ball back. That was great by Hawkins. The strength. He knew where the help was. It was just getting the arms free and giving the ball over the top, and he did that successfully. Well, the ruckman touched it, but the second attempt West did. Christensen back to West. West has been pretty good tonight. Kicks inside the forward 50. Awkward bouncing footy for a couple. Still Taylor kept at it. Socket off the ground. Selwood. And I think he's kicked the goal. He has. He joins Chappie with a remarkable double effort. Early in the game, Chapman hacked one out of midair, and Selwood, I'm pretty sure that was with his left foot as well, so not his natural kicking foot. We'll watch this again. Just makes it up on the spur of the moment.
He does.
No.
He started in the centre square, you know, for that ball up, and from the time the ball has gone via the half-forward flank in towards the top of the goal square, Selwood chased it in. Ran hard forward.
Swans have not conceded 100 points this year. In fact, this is the highest score they've had kicked against them. So Geelong on 97, and they've really blown this game apart, haven't they? It's a 4-goal game at three-quarter time, basically. Sydney desperate to get one back. Kennedy, Christensen, McVeigh started so well. There was a brilliant handball, and then Kennedy's little gift to Jack, and then Jack to centre half forward. Reid and Pike, they both had a little crack at it. And that one out of play. So Sydney still with a late chance here. I feel like they need a goal here. They need something to take into three-quarter time.
Young Sam Reedy often looks like he's going to take the mark and just either not strong enough in the hands or just mistimes it a fraction.
Pike read it best, couldn't quite. Then Chapman takes them on, held up, ball up.
Mine, ball's pinned.
So throw up here. Sydney in a scoring position.
Clock stops at 42 seconds.
Fine there.
Jets lead by 25. West again up very high. We've got a whistle, and the free kick is going to Johnson. So relief for the Cats deep in their defensive area. He is being held in that pack as he goes towards the boundary and Bartel. And they're well geared to do this. Years of experience just kicking in here. Enright's got it. And the clock continues to run. One more kick should see them out of the woods, although he goes for distance. In front O'Keefe, fisted away by Selwood. Selwood, look at him track that football. Malchaski went to ground. Selwood sitting upright. Got a hand pass across to Stokes. Goes to Hunt. We're down to 2 seconds. Goal! Oh, right on the siren. Well, breathtaking finish. It was wonderful by Selwood, and Malcheski knew who was chasing him, and he went to ground a little bit too easy. But having said that, a lot of people would with that man bearing down. So at three-quarter time, Geelong have kicked right away. 103 plays 72 on Friday Night Football.